Hello and welcome to Digital Farm TV Rural News. I'm Andy Walker. Last week, the Digital Farm TV ventured to the Australian Bureau of Agricultural and Resource Economics and Sciences annual Outlook Conference to get a snapshot of the year ahead. ABARES Chief Executive Paul Morris had this blunt warning that producers or anyone else should not be expecting export market relief from the strong Aussie dollar anytime soon.
Look, I'm thinking we should stop talking about a high dollar because I think the reality is that the dollar will stay at around about parity with the US dollar for some time to come. That will be the reality of life rather than it being regarded as high. And so, unfortunately for our farmers, in a sense, because it has been difficult to compete with the dollar at that level, that they'll have to get used to that sort of dollar going forward. Now, we're expecting that the Australian economy will remain relatively strong compared to economies worldwide, and that will mean that there will be that premium, I suppose, built into the dollar compared to where we were in the past. And so over the medium term, we're expecting it to stay around that sort of parity level. Certainly we've highlighted two things as being really important in terms of taking our producers forward, both in the medium term and then over the longer term, so that we can take advantages of the great opportunities with the Asian entry, and that is looking to productivity growth, how they can actually improve their position. That's going to require investment in R&D, in innovation, making sure that we're taking advantage of all the latest technologies that are out there. But secondly, also a better understanding of the markets and making sure that they're targeting the market segments where they're going to get the higher value or the highest value.
Australian beef producers stood to miss out on $1.4 billion in exports to Korea due to a stalled free trade agreement, according to National Farmers Federation President Jock Laurie. Jock Laurie was speaking from Seoul, where he and other beef industry representatives were meeting with key Korean officials to canvass an urgent approach to restarting negotiations. Mr. Laurie said the threat of agriculture exports like wheat, around $350 million, and dairy, over $100 million, was also pronounced. Australian farmers were losing out in a major way while we didn't have a free trade agreement with Korea, while major competitors like the US did, he said. This month, the Australian Bureau of Meteorology has released its new online Met-Eye map viewer and local weather web pages as a trial service, particularly targeting Australian agricultural producers. The new Met-Eye platform provides a whole new way to view your local weather, giving the latest weather and forecast out to 7 days ahead for any location. BOM National Manager Agricultural Weather Services, Vernon Carr, gives Digital Farm TV a heads up on how the Bureau is today becoming more hands-on with the farm sector.
We've got the new system being rolled out across the country now in the Bureau, which is called the Next Generation Forecast and Warning System. That enables a grid of weather information across Australia at every 6-kilometre grid point, spaced apart across the country. And currently it's in all states except for Queensland and Northern Territory. Queensland's due to be installed this year, 2013, and Northern Territory next year. So by 2015, we should have a full set of weather grids, if you like, for want of a better word, across Australia. And there's a fantastic amount of information in there that can be used by the farmers.
A full interview with Vernon Carr discussing climate change and farmer risk management appears in this week's Digital Farm TV video features lineup. Still in the great outdoors, summer rainfall of more than 25 to 30 millimetres can be stored in paddock subsoil and can potentially lead to higher yields in subsequent season grain crops. CSIRO senior researcher Dr. Phil Ward told the Agribusiness Crop Updates that this was one key finding from recent Western Australian research supported by Grains Research and Development Corporation. While crop residue on the surface of paddocks played an important role in preventing wind and water erosion, it had little impact on the amount of water stored in the soil from summer rain. Finally this week, global news agency Reuters reports that Australian beef sales to China are set to surge more than 8-fold this year, providing a boost for farmers who are struggling with tougher US competition in traditional markets such as Japan. Chinese demand for beef is growing as the diet of wealthier consumers changes to include more protein. China will become Australia's fourth largest beef export market in the year of June 30, 2013, with imports jumping to around 50,000 tonnes from about 6,000 tonnes the year before. Data from government research group, the Australian Bureau of Resource Economics and Sciences. Well, that's it for Digital Farm TV Rural News this week. I'm Andy Walker and look forward to your company again next week.